Oh,
Oh, hello.
hello, hello,
Hello. I was Mr.
hello.
Doubtfire this morning.
I
Hey,
like it.
are we starting?
Hey, yeah.
Well, welcome to the Giulio Show. And today I have with me my sidekick, Glennuccio Brown. We call his name is Glenn Brown, but we call him Glennuccio because in Italian, that's little Glenn.
Little Glenn,
Cute
yeah.
little Glenn. Good morning, Glenn.
Cute little Glenn, yeah. Morning,
Good
buongiorno.
afternoon. Buongiorno. Come
Buongiorno.
stai? Bene.
Bene.
Well, man, it has been freezing here. But before we start, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge all the people who are going through this tragic wildfire and let them know that our hearts and our prayers are with them and their families as they go all through this. And just take a moment to have God place his hands on them and have them feel comfort and peace and know that America is with you and we're here to help in any which way we can. So we pray that you'll get some rain or those fires get contained as soon as possible. So God bless you all. Um, it's a tragic thing. I've been watching. It's just like Armageddon out there. Have you seen it?
Yeah, really, yeah, yeah. It looks like Godzilla came ashore. It's
Oh my
horrible.
goodness.
It looks like a
And I
movie.
had it is, and I had some people say, some friends, which was kind of sad. In a way, I kind of thought the same for a second. Was well, they're all rich people; they can afford it. They'll just rebuild. They're all famous actors and actresses. Some are, but there are so many people who are just average Americans. Barely making it through life, middle class to below middle class who are suffering just as much. It's not just the wealthy that are burning. Um, there's so many people affected by this, but whether you're rich or poor, it doesn't matter.
Right,
It's a tragedy, and
right.
many things are being lost, and even though there's some lives that have been lost, and we pray for those families and their families. But what's more important is your life. But after you see the devastation and you've lost everything from your clothes to, you know, where to bathe, where to sleep, uh, everything, how can you not feel for that? Or wonder where are these people? Where are they living? What are they doing? It's no different than any other tragedy from North Carolina, um, to people who go through hurricanes. It's not about who's rich or who's poor. It's
Yeah.
about the devastation that people suffer. So, let's get into the mindset that we were here to help one another, not judge one another just because someone may have a little bit more than we do. Um, our job is to give what we can, even if we have very little ourselves, and
Right.
that's even a prayer, you know. Or, but anyway, I hope some people change their mentality and understand that any tragedy uh, is terrible.
Tragedy. Yeah,
It is.
tragedy's
It's very
tragic.
tragic.
Doesn't matter how
Um,
much money.
yeah.
Tragedy's tragedy.
So
Keepsakes and mementos and pictures and things like that. It doesn't matter how rich you are. That's a loss is a loss. Losing a house is one thing, but when you lose um, things that are priceless, things you can't replace, it has nothing to do with how much money you have. That's just,
no, and a lot of people are like, well, they didn't lose a lot of pictures. They got it up in the cloud. No, there's old pictures that didn't exist. The iPhones didn't exist many years ago. So there are many heirlooms
right,
of
right.
family pictures, family pass downs, like certain things that now you cannot have. And then you have these looters who are taking advantage
Yeah, that's so
of
bad.
these
Oh my
people,
God.
which is, and it's just, you can't fathom, you can only, get the information you get from the TV. And whose fault is this? And why weren't they prepared? And how did they run out of water? I mean, I've never heard that one before. Um, I mean, they got a whole ocean there. Uh,
Well, they,
just,
yeah, that's a whole thing with, yeah, yeah, the governor, the
I
mayor. I
think,
mean,
well, you know what it was? It was the last 4 years, which we'll talk about the past, year itself, but where everything just got caught up in politics, and these politicians, a lot of them have forgotten about the people and
mm,
more focused about themselves and their ideologies and their own self, you know greed, that they actually forgot
mm,
about who they serve.
yeah,
They went into the mode of being served,
mm,
which, not too long ago I read in the Bible that even when Jesus came, he didn't come to be served; he came to serve.
mm,
And that's what we're supposed to be doing. But these politicians want to be served, and it still, baffles me how they get into politics, and it's maybe some mean good intentions of helping the people, but they get caught up in all this other stuff where they become millionaires and they forget about the people, and they start focusing on how am I going to maintain my lifestyle and continue to be a millionaire while other
mm,
people suffer. How are they going to help? How are they going to rebuild this whole
mm,
state that is just disappearing? Um, you know, Even in North Carolina, when the hurricanes took over, uh, where's FEMA?
yeah,
In all this, where are they
yeah,
spending their money? How are they running out of money? How are they mismanaging everything? Why is it that the people running these organizations are living beautifully, but when it
mm,
comes to helping other people, they don't have the money to do it or the
mm,
resources? I just don't understand it. Hopefully, with the new administration, maybe things will change. I think that's what people are hoping for. That's why it was such a landslide.
mm,
But even I'll tell you what, before the new administration, uh, things seem to be trending really good. I thought we were doing great in business. Then COVID came along. Who knows, what happened there? But even
you
after
mean this
COVID,
administration? You mean this?
yeah,
So
this
before
Biden
this administration?
administration, yeah, the
Yeah,
Biden administration, when they took over, it just seemed like everybody thought there was going to be some good intentions there, some um, unifying and some
yeah,
improvements, and that's why they made a change, even though things were running pretty good. We had everybody was doing
yeah,
very well.
yeah,
Then all of a sudden, jobs disappeared. Um, Things got worse, things got crazy, people got crazy, riots got out of control, uh, and I thought it was going to get better as the
mm,
years went on, but even this last past year, people will say, you know, did you have a great year? No, it got
mhm,
worse as it went along.
yeah,
Uh, I still have a strong faith. I still believe there's something that's going to be great that comes along, and I'm not going to give up that faith. Uh, you know, I, Even watching the wildfires, I saw a family, the whole house burnt down, the whole house,
mm, mhm,
and the only thing that didn't burn was the statue of the Virgin Mary. And yet, these people who lost everything gathered around, the family gathered around this statue and started to sing hymns and prayer
mm,
because they didn't lose hope and they didn't lose faith. I'm not, and I refuse to lose hope and faith, even though, don't get me wrong, we all get into a funk. We all sit there and wonder why this is happening, why this devastation, why are you doing this, God? But
yeah,
you still got to have that hope and faith that there's a reason behind everything, and there's a better future ahead, and no matter what things are coming your way. Because this last year, I've really struggled even financially, because people will sit there and say, Julio, you have businesses, you're writing books, you're doing this, you're doing that, you must be making a ton of money. No, No, I'm trying to keep whatever money I make to keep my people working and to keep my students in school so they can get a career up ahead. It has been a big struggle since 2020 to keep
Mm.
things alive. And the only thing that's been kept alive was my faith, even though sometimes that was in doubt. But this year, it's gotten even stronger. Uh, Even this Christmas, I don't know how was your Christmas?
It was great. I had a great
It was
Christmas.
great.
I was gonna say,
Was it?
watch everybody start living in a huge house that's like the Virgin Mary. They just build a
Yeah.
gigantic Virgin Mary and then and then live inside of it, and they go, oh no,
Well,
the
now I know
fire
why
just
the
completely
Italians
avoids
put
the
the.
house.
Well, now I know why the Italians bury half a bathtub in the ground and put the Virgin Mary in there
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah,
their statues because they know their house is
yeah,
going to be protected.
yeah. And they
Um,
just put a little Virgin Mary statue on every single thing in their house. They just
exactly. Well, you said you had a great Christmas. I mean, I had a great
yes, I
Christmas because
did.
I have I have a great family and everything. But it was a different Christmas. I don't know about you if you talk to other friends, but they said it. Even though it was Christmas and it was the birth of Christ that they were celebrating, or Santa Claus or whatever they celebrated, it was a different feel in the air. It wasn't like their past Christmases or their,
Hmm.
you know, the joy and wanting to put out lights and be festive. It was almost kind of calmed down a little bit. Do you think it was the economy, or do you think it was just people not knowing what tomorrow is going to bring? Or
I don't know. I mean, I didn't feel that too much because I like to when I love holidays because when holidays come around, I escape. So no matter what's going on in the world or my life, I mean, my life is great, but no matter what's going on, I kind of forget about it, and I consume myself in the holiday. I let the holiday take over, the Christmas spirit, if you will,
okay.
and it takes over. And
Well,
then I just like I decorated. I went out. We also just moved not too long ago, so it's kind of a fresh start, new area. We love this area too. It's probably gonna be the area we settle in. So that was nice. So that
so
helped a
you
lot.
said some newness to kind of make it more enjoyable.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I decorated more this year than I did last year. I think it's more maybe, maybe subconsciously it could have been, the more the world was screwed up, the more I wanted to get into Christmas more than, maybe
yeah.
more than last year or something. But I had fun, you know.
Well, past Christmases, my joy is giving gifts, not getting gifts. I'm not
Yeah,
one
same
for,
here.
I could care if I get a gift or not. The joy is watching people open up gifts, and then I'll be honest. In the past, I used to go nuts. I mean, I'd shop and go into debt. I mean,
Yeah, I
because
know
you
you
feel
did.
like you're never done. That's what the holidays
Yeah,
do to you. They make you go
yeah.
crazy because you get
Mm,
caught up in the advertisements and the festive parts of it, and you try to
yeah,
give people more than you know you can handle, and that's a sad part because this year was different. um I've been humbled through the last few years, Glenn, and you know the money, it wasn't, and the profits weren't as great as they could be. Everything went up in price, and uh
yeah,
but in a way it was a good thing because it kind of brought us back to the true meaning of Christmas in my household. I don't know about yours. But we sat, and my wife and I sat down, and we had a talk that this year, we're only going to buy each other one gift because we're really
mm,
missing the true meaning of Christmas. We usually go out and buy each other, the more gifts the better, and we
yeah,
have a
yeah,
baby, so the more
yeah,
gifts the better. And then
yeah,
you just have a bunch of things you don't use, and you just, because you buy things just to buy it, just for people to open it, and
yeah,
and it's over in a heartbeat, especially when you're open gifts. It's like Thanksgiving, right? You prepare, you make all this food, and in a
yeah,
half hour to 45 minutes, it's all gone.
yeah.
After everybody opens a gift, they make their piles, and it's done. It's like, okay, that was a quick high for about an hour. you know. So this
Yeah,
year
but
I
that's
even
why you got
called
to cherish
family.
those moments. Yeah, that's why you got to cherish those moments, and
Yeah.
let them take your time. Like this year when we opened gifts, we uh we really took our time. Like we made it last. We didn't just sit there and
Yeah.
rip open gifts or like we really because as you get older, I mean, time flies as you get older. It goes by quicker.
Yeah,
So
well, look how
so you
gray I
really
am.
have to like
Look how fast time went from our
I
last
know yesterday your
podcast.
beard
My beard was
was
black.
black. Yeah. Um, because if this is why people have to get off their phones because they're missing life, and when you know, you'll notice time is going to go even quicker because now you just people are just on their phones all the time. So people have to learn how to just be in a moment without their phone, even if it's boring, even if they're waiting in line somewhere. Just wait and just look around and kind of like and just pay
Well,
attention
even
to your surroundings. Learn how to just be in a moment without needing constant entertainment. You know, because it's just gonna make because then time's just
well,
gonna
it's not
fly.
just entertainment. They have to be in constant gossip or tragedy. I mean, I think that's what excites people. A lot of people, not all people, more. Uh,
Yeah,
you know, it is like, oh my God, did you see this? Oh my God, did you see this? But this Christmas
yeah,
week, even during Christmas or Thanksgiving or any holiday, instead of enjoying the family, you see people on their phones constantly as if there's important text messages that need to go out or phone calls. People don't call anymore
yeah,
anyway, they text.
yeah.
But
I know.
they're always on their phone rather than enjoying a good conversation with the person that is in front of them,
Right,
uh, instead of the drama that is coming to them over text
right.
message. And it's like, here you got this moment to spend with family. And that's what we did this Christmas. We I turned to my family, my brothers and sisters and everything, and said, listen, let's stop exchanging money, in gifts.
Right.
Because if
Yeah.
I buy you something for 50, you're buying something for 50 for me. I mean, we're just trading. Let's
Right.
enjoy, let's enjoy the true holiday, the birth of Jesus Christ, which for me, that's what Christmas was. For other people, Christmas is Santa, whatever. And we do
Or just
exchange the
family.
gifts,
Or
and you still
family.
want to have a little Santa fantasy for your child, but we still wanted to
Yeah.
teach her the true meaning. And she's, not even 2 years old yet, but this year really humbled us enough to say, let's stop overbuying, overgiving things that people don't even need, and let's focus on more of the reason of the holiday and the enjoyment of family. So that day we actually, we sent early in the morning, you send your Christmas greetings, you call people rather than text them, family, and say Merry Christmas, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But we then turned off our phones and said, this is us. We are going
Mm,
to spend this together, and we're going to enjoy this together.
mm.
Um, and that's what we did. And I think it taught us a big lesson that we need to reevaluate, because every time you turn around, as soon as Christmas is done, New Year's is here, and you're making resolutions, and you're, all these promises that you're not going to keep anyway. Right?
Mm.
And then as
Yeah.
soon as that is over, then it's Valentine's Day. I mean, it's one after another, and everybody keeps putting themselves further, further, and further in debt to keep up with these holidays,
Yeah.
rather than understanding the true meanings of them. Valentine's Day is coming. It's about appreciating your loved ones or the person that you love. And you don't have to buy their love. You should have earned it already. Now, maybe a flower or a little gift exchange to just say, I care about you. But some people treat Valentine's Day uh, like it's Christmas on steroids.
Yeah. Right. Like it's Christmas for love.
Right. How many people
Yeah.
get chocolate that don't even want chocolate?
No. Yeah. Valentine's Day should just be an excuse to have a date night. Just have a date night. Just say,
A
oh,
one
let's just go.
on one alone, or
Yeah,
uh,
let's at home. But even if you go out, it's like I mean, you go out anyways. Couples go out every once in a while to a restaurant, have a date night. Say, hey, that's gonna be our date night. Because realistically, I mean, if your relationship is really great. you shouldn't have to go to all these great lengths on Valentine's Day and buying all these things. No one should expect that either. You shouldn't expect to be showered with gifts on Valentine's
I
Day if your
think
relationship is good.
a gift that is personally handmade or picked out means more than 100 gifts that you were just trying to put together to give me. Uh,
Yes, yes. And money shouldn't matter either. It should just be, it can be anything, right? Something that
no,
means something.
even an "I love you" or a handmade card or whatever, I think means more. But to some people, if they don't get all those gifts, then you don't love me enough. It's
Right.
like,
Well,
really, is that
you
your
don't want to be
meaning
with
of
that
love?
person.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that's you
your
want to stay far away from that person. Far
yeah, because
away.
it's material things. I mean, people receive love in many different ways, either gifts, touch, or verbiage, or whatever. But uh, it should be waking up and saying, "Hey, I cooked you a beautiful breakfast," or even for the family. It doesn't have to be a one-on-one thing, but Valentine's is about giving love, sharing love, and expressing love. But you don't have to express it with material things. You just have to be true from the heart.
Yeah.
Uh,
What
and
about
there are people.
Valentine's? You said Valentine. What's Valentine's?
Well, it's my accent. Valentine.
Va-
It's ever
it'd be
since I was little, I
Valentine's
called it
Day.
Valentine's.
Yes, these are
I
the
get corrected all the
Valentines, you
time.
see.
Well, a lot of people, just because I don't have an Italian accent, I still spoke Italian in the house. So sometimes my
Yeah,
words
yeah,
aren't pronounced as properly, and especially where I grew up in upstate New York,
yeah,
nobody there spoke proper English because everybody had accents
yeah,
and dialects, and so we made up our own words.
yeah.
Library, I used to say all the time instead of
Library, yeah,
library. You
that's a
know,
classic. Yep, yep.
well, one thing I learned in Florida is, what a casket freezer is.
Is it the floor freezer that you open up this way,
Yeah,
right?
well,
Yeah, I didn't
as
know
I
they were
said,
called that. I just guessed.
yeah, they call it cabinet freezer or whatever here in Florida. Because every time I
Yeah,
say casket freezer, they're like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "It must be an upstate New York thing where when they hid the bodies in the freezer, they probably
yeah,
called it a
really, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
casket
funny.
freezer
Everything in
freezer."
New York has a mafia slang to it.
So it's weird, but all in all, listen, we can go on with these holidays. I think people just need to take a step back now and just you know think of why you're doing what you're doing, or you're buying what you're buying. What's the purpose behind it? What's the reason? Is it love, or is it just to you know uh get caught up in the marketing world and the sales world today? And most people don't even go out and shop something personally. They could just go on Amazon and pick a bunch of crap out anyway, have it
I know
delivered.
there's no more shopping anymore. That, you know what, that was the most fun part about it is you miss that. It's funny because at the time it's like, oh, it's stressful. We got to go out in the mall and everything. But then now it's like you miss it because there's something about going to a mall during Christmas time and all the decorations are up and they're playing the music and you're just shopping. You don't know what you're gonna get. You just, we actually, Alyssa and we decided that every year, because most of our shopping is done online. I mean, this year was almost 100% was done online, Amazon, whatever. But we decided that once a year, when during December, we're gonna go to the mall together, and we're just gonna go to the stores and take it in, and then randomly see if we see something that the other might like. And it's just something that we didn't even think we would get them, but we saw it because that happened this year. We went to the mall and there was something that she liked, and so I got it for her, and it was random, and it was fun, and I'm like, oh, it
But it was
made
something
me,
she
you
liked.
know, it was something she liked, but it was something, but it reminded me of when I was yeah, it was something she liked, but it reminded me of when I was younger, and I would actually just go to the mall, and it's like, we should all hang on to that as much as we can. That going out, just once. You have to go
It
out,
wasn't the
you know,
buying that I
whatever.
missed at the mall. It was the angry faces and the frustrated people. And remember
You
just
know,
going
it's
out and people
yeah,
we used to be in a bad mood and fighting over parking spaces. Oh, those good times.
yeah, yeah. But you know what's funny is that that's you don't really experience that anymore because most people are buying stuff online. So when they are at the mall, they're in a good. I mean, we just went to the Millennia, and that mall's huge, and it's
Real
packed. But
huge.
everybody's in a good mood. There was no problems. There wasn't like, yeah, parking was a pain in the ass, but it was once we got in, we got some coffee, we walked around. They had this beautiful setup. It looked like Miracle on 34th Street, like
Oh,
with where
nice.
Santa was and everything. It was cool, and I'm like, it's kind of like the nostalgia we have for renting movies. Remember that you'd actually go out, rent a movie, and it was an
Yeah.
event. Now it's just you click and
It's
it's
there.
convenient, but it's there, but it's like, I think we have to stop thinking that everything, because it's convenient, it's better. Not always. Not always. Sometimes, but not
Yeah.
always.
Well, that's the way of the world today. Is just one click away. That's all you need.
Yeah.
Uh, but all in all, it wasn't a horrible year. It was a humbling year last year, and I believe it brought on some good change for a lot of people. I think we had to go through these few years of craziness to
Yeah.
come to a certain point where we're like, wait a minute, what happened? How do we get back to normacy? How do we get back to true traditions?
Yeah.
How do we readjust our lives so it isn't so crazy? So I mean, I I personally had some awakenings and some humbling that brought me back, and we need that once in a while. I didn't have an overall bad year either. I got to do some writing, some more writing, and I enjoyed that. Um, the only thing I'm trying to get back is, building up the businesses, and then instead of having a pity party, just jump back on and figure out the solutions rather than
Mm.
we're headed for a downfall. So it gave me a chance to stop feeling sorry for myself as well, and know and go back to my thinking I used to have before. If it's meant to be, it's up to me, so I
Yeah.
had to readjust my attitude, and I'm still working on it. It's not easy. You don't
No,
wake up
yeah.
just happy. And I don't think a lot of there's a lot of people who do. I think a lot of us struggle through a lot of things, but there was some good things that came out of the year. So and I'm having fun on the farm. As you know, we talked about that before, and our chickens are finally starting to lay some eggs. So
Mm-hmm.
some some fun. We bring Evangelina out, and she'll play with the donkeys and the horses and the sheep, and help us pick eggs. And it kind of brought us out of the TV stage and out into the land and the air and the sunshine.
Yeah.
So there was some positive things to it, because eventually we got tired of all that stuff, the
Yeah.
TV and the news and the
Yeah.
craziness of the world. That it's been peaceful out here. And and the prices of eggs, my God, what are they, 10, 12 bucks a dozen? Now we
Oh,
could just
it's
go
no, it's
pick
like
them and eat them fresh.
it's like yeah, it's like around $6
No, I
for a
think you better
dozen.
go shopping a little bit more. I don't know where you shop, but where we live,
Publix.
it's like $10 and one a dozen.
Really? Do I
Uh,
have that wrong?
till
I could have sworn it
till
was
our
like,
chickens started laying some eggs, we're like, ooh, and they're much better tasting too.
well,
So,
yeah, I mean they're fresh and they're
uh,
fresh out of the chicken's booty.
yeah, exactly. No, it's like I said, it's been a humbling year, and I know uh, looking forward, we're going to take things a little bit more wisely rather than spontaneously. There
Yeah.
is going to be some spontaneous things we do, obviously, but not just get things to get things or because the Joneses have it. Um, our faith has gotten stronger. We spend more time with that as well. It's brought us back to faith because at one point we lost a little bit of it um,
Mm,
because we just couldn't figure out what was going on. So the year did bring some positive things, and I know the year to come is going to bring a lot of other great things, and we'll just have to wait and see. But you know, we can't rely on the government or other people to bring us great things, Glenn. We have to create great
mm,
memories and great joy for ourselves. And we can do that in so many ways instead of waiting for someone else to create it for us.
mm. Well, you got hit hard by the hurricane.
Yeah.
That was pretty. I was gonna say that was pretty humbling.
Yeah, we had some great losses and damages in the hurricane. And but we also there's the reverse side of it. So for instance, I had a pavilion in the out in the back that was totally destroyed. Totally destroyed. Even the insurance company was like, that's a write off. That's a, you can't
Yeah,
throw it away.
yeah.
It's a write off. I went away to Tampa and and I had some neighbors, a couple of neighbors who came over and rebent it, the pavilion, re-straightened it out. Now the stuff under it, obviously there was stuff they couldn't do because it was damaged. But while I was away, they rebuilt everything, and they didn't want a penny for it. When I got home, it looked brand new, and I was like, what what happened? And my wife said, well, Rick came over and Bob and a couple of the other neighbors helped once in a while, and they re-straightened it and restructured it. It looks brand new. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, it looked
I,
great. Yeah.
I said, how much do I owe them? Do I owe them any money? They were like, no, just cook us a nice hamburger or a pizza. Uh, so there is good out there,
Sure.
even though we had some losses, quite a bit of losses that were written off. There, just even fixing that pavilion for me was a huge help, and a huge surprise. And for people to come out and help clean up and help fix things and not want a penny for it, but just to do it out of the goodness of their heart makes you also think, hey, what am I doing? So
Yeah.
uh, it's you pay it forward. Somebody did it for you, and then you do it for each other all the way around. So there are still good things and good people out there, and that hurricane did hurt a lot of people. I think we had a wind burst, what they call it, like a little mini tornado.
Mm,
But again, when you lose faith, such as, my God, why me? Why did I get hit? Why did it cost me all this money? How am I going to rebuild this? I don't have the cash to do this. All of a sudden, God sends people out of the blue to, you know, help you out. And you're like, whoa, because there's no way. I'm like, there's no way that can be adjusted. There's no way.
yeah.
And where am I going to dump this? How am I going to tear this down? And then out of the blue, somebody comes in and it looks like nothing ever happened. Well, there is a couple
Mm,
dents here and there, but it's
sure.
still is a
Yeah.
godsend. So
Yeah.
it brings faith back to you to know that there are people out there that are good.
Mm-hmm.
They're still out there.
Community. Community.
Did you get hurt by the hurricane?
No, we got nothing at all where we are.
Yeah. I always look
Yeah.
at you and you're always happy.
I,
It's
you
like your
know,
heartbeat.
I don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah, I know. And you stay firm to what you believe in. I know you've been looking for a job with Universal or Disney, especially Universal.
Yeah,
And you're
universal.
you're not giving up. You just keep going. You're not taking no for an answer. You just keep. I know it's been a couple of years, and
No.
you just keep going after. I admire that. A lot of people would give up after, uh, being turned down. And I know the last few years has been difficult for jobs, even though turnaround has been huge. Um,
Yeah. Oh no,
but
yeah.
you,
It's no, you gotta keep because that's the only way it's gonna happen is if you keep going. Because if you give up, then it definitely isn't gonna happen. But if you keep going, you know, then there's a chance. But it's not like, it isn't like I'm just expected to be. I know that I'm not just going to be handed anything. That I just have to keep going, keep
Yeah.
up, keep applying, keep building my portfolio. Keep doing little shorts, little short films, things like that, and then eventually something will happen. You just got to keep going.
Well, that's what I admire is that type of attitude because and I have to keep reminding myself that if you want something bad enough, you just have to keep working at it. You can't just go after it once and expect for it to happen. And if it doesn't, and some people say, well, I'll just pray. Well, praying helps a lot, but you have
Yeah.
to also put some effort into that. God isn't just going to
Right. Right.
give it to you, He's going to give you the strength to go after it.
Right.
And a lot of people just want things to happen for them rather than getting up and making it happen,
Yeah. Handout's a
and going
handout,
out.
no matter who you get it from.
Yeah.
You know,
And
if you just
there's a
yeah,
lot
you got
of,
to just work for it.
well, not just even work for it, but even go for it. Put your effort into it and don't give up.
Hmm.
Yes, there's going to be
And
frustration.
oh
What's
yeah,
that?
I mean, the job market right now is frustrating for everybody. It's horrible. I'm very aware of that. I'm hoping with the new administration things will change. We're all hopeful.
Yeah.
Regardless of who you voted for, you have to be optimistic of who's going to be the next president. You can't sit there and just be negative all the time because what's that going to do? You have to hope. I mean, you should hope that is he's going to be good, the next president's going to be good, and it's going to be good for you. You shouldn't be hoping for the opposite of that because that doesn't make any sense. Because now you're just feeding your
There's a
own
lot of
ego.
people who are
You know?
hoping. Well, they're hoping for the opposite, so
Well,
they
they
could
hope he's
just
going to do
so
bad,
just
but
so
it's
they could
like,
say, "I told you so." Well, what
right?
good
That's
is
what I
that?
mean. You're just
"I told you
you're
so" gonna
feeding your
do
own
for
ego.
you and me? You
Right. It's
know.
just feeding your own ego is all that's doing. But you're okay, whatever. But you just got issues. You got, but
Well, there
you
are
know,
people, what people have to understand, Glenn, is no matter what you're trying hard for, there are going to be people that want you to fail, or want
mm,
things to fail because it's not the way they want it. For instance, with like great example we just made. Okay, every 4 years there's an election. And how many presidents have we had? Whether they last 4 or 8 years. But because people hate a certain candidate, they're going to hope that they fail at their job. Now, I never hope for Biden to fail, even though he did fail at what he did in my eyes. I never
mhm,
hope for him to fail because his failure is the failure of the United States. Same thing if
right.
people are now like, watch, I hope Donald Trump fails. I hope, this happens. I hope war happens and people will see what a bad man he is. And it's like,
Yeah.
what there there's so many people who hope that something bad happens to a certain person, but that bad thing happening to that certain person affects many, 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 many others. So when you sit
Yeah.
there and you hope somebody fails because your ego is too big, or you want to see somebody fail, you're hurting many others. You should hope that they succeed. You should hope this administration does well. You should hope they bring unity in. You should be talking about that hope rather than trying to tear it apart so that that person fails. But what you don't understand is not just that person fails, you and everybody else go down with it.
Right. 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 Yeah. It's just bitter people, selfish, bitter people that they
And
just
don't
like to.
understand that they're hurting themselves as well. When
Right.
they're
Right.
knocking,
Right. Right.
I've had people knock down their own companies and this and that, and they're really only mad at one person,
Right.
or maybe
Right.
they're mad at themselves because they even put the effort to get the promotion they wanted. But what they'll do is they'll knock the whole company down, or the whole school down, or the whole college down, or whatever it is. But what you're doing is you're knocking everybody in there down. What you're saying is this is a no good company. This is a no good school. So anybody that went there or goes there or works there is no good. Now, there are bad actors out there, but why would you want, you know, and here some people, like I know people that graduated from certain schools, even some of my schools. Oh, and they owed money, or they were pissed. And so they start saying the school was terrible. I didn't learn a thing.
Mm,
Well, you graduated from that school. So what you're
yeah.
saying is, I don't know anything. I didn't learn anything. So don't come to me, is what
Right.
you're really
Right.
saying. You
Exactly.
know?
Right. Right.
So you
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
you're downing somebody else, but you're really downing yourself and
Yeah.
and and making yourself look bad by saying, I didn't learn anything. I didn't accomplish anything. And you have a doctorate's degree and you're going to operate. I mean, you're telling me you didn't learn anything? Or
Yeah.
you have your plumbing license, your hair cutting license, whatever, and you're saying you didn't learn anything. I'm going to allow you to work on me or my home? You're
Yeah.
crazy. So when you think you're knocking an institution or other people down, what you're doing is putting yourself in that category as well. What is the
Yeah.
true problem you have? Did you face it head on? Did you go talk to the people and have that crucial conversation and saying, hey, this is what I expected, and this is what I'm not getting, and this is what I want? Most likely, if you do that, the odds are better that you're going to get what you're looking for, but you
Mm,
can't blame other people for things you're not willing to do yourself.
mm,
Go home and practice, go home and study, go home and talk about what it is that you're frustrated with, or get some help, so that you can get better at it. But when you're starting to fail at it, you're knocking everybody down, including yourself.
mm,
And that's not the attitude to have in order to build your community and yourself and your reputation.
mm.
So
It's that victim
I get
mentality.
really passionate about that because I see that all the time. And when people talk to me, even relationships, it's like they
Yeah.
want to knock the other person. But what have you not done to be a part of
Right.
that relationship? What have you not given? Now, in some cases, you've probably given everything, and it is true. But in some cases, that you always said there's three sides of the story, right? His, hers, and the
Right.
truth,
Right. Yeah.
right? And in that truth, uh, one's downing the other and making people feel sorry for them when they don't really know that they put no effort towards it. And the reason why this person acted this way is because this person was acting a certain way,
Yeah.
and they weren't giving it any effort. They expected it all to come to them, but they didn't want to give any back in return. They didn't want to work at it, because relationships are work. School is work. Work is
Right.
work. You have to put
Right.
effort towards it,
Right.
no matter what it takes. Reading a book is a lot of effort for me, but I have to do it. Writing a book is even more effort for me because of
Yeah.
my dyslexia,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I have to work at it. I can't blame my dyslexia and my ADHD for not accomplishing a goal that I have, and
Mm.
blaming everybody else. I can't keep blaming all my teachers. I can, because they did say I was a useless piece of art for for this
Yeah.
world,
Yeah.
but I can't keep
Yeah.
blaming them. I can't keep blaming the people who didn't take the time to teach me. What I could do is praise the people who did see the value within me, and I can do something about it, and work hard at accomplishing it. And you know me, I've had trouble reading for many years. I've had trouble comprehending for many years, but it didn't stop me from this year. I'll accomplish 15 books that I have written. Now, it wasn't
Wow.
easy throughout the years. It
Yeah.
wasn't easy at all. This year alone, last year, I got 3 awards on 3 different books: the Pinnacle Award, and the Pacific Book Awards. And I was named top 50 best authors from uh, what is that publishing magazine that everybody, um, it just
Uh,
slipped my mind. Reader's Digest. No, not Reader's
readers. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Digest.
No. Oh.
no, not Reader's Digest. It'll come back to me. Uh, oh, New York Times
Oh,
magazine. New
yeah,
York
yeah.
Times magazine. I don't really think of all the awards I get because it's not what I work for, but it's a nice, to get the
Right.
recognition. But New York
Yeah.
Times magazine, posted me as one of the top 50 authors last year,
Good for you.
which, wow, for me, not for everybody, and I didn't go crazy with advertising that, was a
Yeah.
great achievement because I worked hard at getting that.
Yeah.
But most importantly, I wrote those books to help others. And by doing that, I was recognized with it. Um, so, once again, I I made excuses my whole life, but I stopped
Mm,
when I stopped making excuses, things get better. Uh,
mm.
Now, even with my businesses, things have gone a little bit lower than the previous years, and I was making excuses for a while. It's the Biden
Mm.
administration. It was COVID, and it is true. A lot of that had some effect to it, but
Yeah.
what was I doing to change things? What was I doing to look at what's happening and how I could make the changes? Once again, I can blame everybody in the world, but as a leader, what am I doing to make a
Yeah.
difference and to make a change? And so I've been focusing on that this year as well. And a lot of people, uh, that I've talked to, are still blaming, COVID and this and that, and it's time that we stop blaming, and it's time that we start creating some action to
Yeah.
create our
Definitely.
own success, along with our faith and our hope, and create a purpose. For a while, Glenn, I don't know about you, but I felt like I had no purpose when I had it all the
Mm.
time. It was right in front of me.
Yeah.
Everybody has a purpose. We just sometimes don't want to work at it because using an excuse is much easier than working for the purpose, getting up for it, going after it, achieving it. And there's going to be failures along the way while you're achieving it. There's going to be
Sure.
times that you trip, but
Sure.
you got to stop using the excuses and saying it didn't work. Imagine if Edison just gave up after the first light bulb failure.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah.
And how many failures was that?
Yeah. Well, that's what being an adult is all about. I mean, really, that's what separates adults from children is kids blame and kids give up because they're kids. They don't know any better. But when you're an adult, you have to realize that that's life. You're not always going to win the first time or the second time or the third time. And you just got to keep going. But you have to learn. You can't just keep doing the same thing. Learn from what you did if you failed and then do it again differently. And if you failed, then do it again differently. But people don't learn. It's funny. They don't learn patterns in life. They just keep it's like a revolving door. They just keep making the same mistake over and over again, and it's like I don't know how to help those people or what It's like it's either you either got it or you don't.
We
It's
see that
like
in relationships, don't we? A lot.
yeah,
I think I'll
yeah,
keep dating that same person who drives
you're
me
right,
absolutely
right,
crazy, abuses
yeah,
me, doesn't love me, but I
right,
think I'll keep dating them rather than learning from
right,
that relationship and moving on to someone who will appreciate you and love you, and learning from, you know, your last relationship.
right. And people use the excuse. I get a kick out of this one when people say, "But it's all I know." All you know, what are you talking about? You've lived life, right? You've been out, you've met, even if you were raised a certain way, even if your upbringing sucked, you didn't have good parents or something, whatever the case was, your upbringing, I get that. So I give you extra, some people need extra time to catch up because their upbringing was a little messed up. Okay. But you're an
Yeah,
adult
but it's
now.
not excuse
You
to be say I can't because of my upbringing. You
right, but I
can
always
look
I
back
always
at your
say this all the
upbringing
time.
and
Yeah,
yeah,
right.
go ahead.
But that's again, that goes, it's the difference between being a kid and being an adult. And I always say, I'm like, have you ever seen a movie? You've watched movies, right? You've watched TV shows. You see, you've been out, you've seen other people, you've met their friends and I mean, you've you should be able to adapt, even if you weren't taught all the skills. So basically, everything you were taught growing up, that's all you'll ever know, and you'll never learn anything new or discover new things and go, oh wow, the way that I was raised, that was wrong, or I just get a kick out of that. Or it's like, well, I only dated scumbags, that's all I know, so I'll just keep dating scumbags. It's like, that makes no sense. Just find out.
It's like the
Just
person always says, "Why do I attract, all these losers?" Ask yourself that question again. Why do I
yeah, right,
attract?
right,
I said, ask yourself that question again because
right,
you look for them.
right. Or you are actually only appealing to them based on maybe what the way you dress, your personality. You probably attract. So maybe there's something about you that you need to fix. Like,
Right.
some you can't. Everybody, this whole thing of like, just be yourself. Yes, be yourself, but we all need a little editing. It's like a
Like
movie.
the
If you're writing
show.
a
Like this
movie,
show needs a lot of editing.
a lot of editing. Yes, yes. This shows, yes. When we're done with this, it's only going to be about 5 minutes long. But
Exactly.
yes, but it's like everything needs editing. You need editing, your personality needs editing. You can't just We take these sayings too literally, like be yourself. Yes, be yourself, but if you're an asshole, don't be yourself. Don't be an asshole.
Mhm.
That's not you. You are being an asshole. So work on editing that out so that you can be yourself, because you are probably a really good person. Just don't be an asshole.
Well,
So we have to
one of
stop
the
thinking
books I
that.
wrote, is Hiding Behind the Mask.
Yes, that's one of
I
your
don't,
latest
yeah.
books.
Yeah. This one here, shameless
There it
plug, Hiding
is.
Behind the Mask. But what it is about all the years of my excuses and being a someone that I was not. I wore
Mm,
different masks for different situations, which led me to sometimes some great outcomes, but most of the time, bad outcomes because I was being something I was not.
right.
And when I had to deliver, I couldn't be. So I was
Mm,
always being something to please other people than being who I truly am and
mm,
loving me for who I truly am.
right.
So we're Hiding Behind the Mask is all about the mental illness that I struggled through and the post-traumatic stress because I could never be who I wanted to be. I thought I had to be who people wanted me to be.
Mm,
And and you do attract the wrong company. You do attract the wrong people when you're being who you think they want you to be. You'll attract who likes you for who you are. And
mm.
some people are natural jerks. Well, there's another jerk who's going to love you because
Sure,
you can be
right, right.
jerks together,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, right,
Or there's
exactly.
great loving people, and you're going to attract a great loving person. The one person says, "Well, I'm going to." I had a friend of mine who he thought if he was just a bad boy, he will attract more girls because all the girls he attracted left him for a bad boy, and their
Right.
relationships never worked out. I said, "How did their relationships work out?" Well, they're always fighting. They're never together. I said, "So why do you want that false relationship?
Right.
If somebody can't accept you for who you are, the fact that you call them, you care for them, you want to know where they are they home safe, can you help them in any way? If they think you're being too much of a non-man, in this case,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
there's going to be somebody out there who appreciates the fact that you opened the door for them or that you called and you were concerned about them. And even talking to girls, they're like, you know, uh, I have to be this way. I have to act this way in order for a man to. No, if a man can't accept you for who you are and your quirkiness and your brilliance and your cuteness or
Yeah.
your goofiness,
Yeah.
um, or the fact that you really don't know a lot of things, uh,
Yeah.
they they might find that very attractive if you are
Yeah.
just who you are. But if
Yeah.
you're false, sooner or later, the true you is going to come out, and that's when the
Sure.
trouble begins.
Yeah.
you
It should
know.
just work. It should just work. Your relationship should just work. That's how you know. Whenever people ask, like, well, how do you know? How do you know when you meet the right person? It just works from the very beginning.
I'll tell you
There's
how you
no
know, when you can be yourself and they love you
That's what I
for that.
mean. Right, that's what I mean. It just works. You just really like each other right from the beginning. You just like
Yeah,
each other for who you are, and that's it. And it's just, I like you, you like me, and that's it. And then it just goes from, it's like it feels easy. It's like, my God, this is easy. This is nothing like people describe. You're like, this was like effortless. We just like each other, and we go out, and wow, I don't even have to think. We just love being around each other. That's, I mean,
yeah,
that's how it's been for me and Alyssa, because that's how I knew. That's how I knew this is gonna work, because it was the easiest, most effortless relationship I've ever had. And I'm like, oh, this is great, because so many years they tell you, oh, it's hard work. Let me tell you, marriage and relationships. You're gonna be hate each other, and you're gonna fight like cats and dogs, and it's just, it's gonna be so much hard work. I'm like, okay,
because
so where's the selling point here? Where's the incentive? So like, if this is how you're trying to sell me on marriage
well,
and
because if the
being,
true you comes out after you're married or after you've been in a relationship for a long time, instead of in the beginning, well, now they've discovered a
right.
whole nother person that they're like, well, this wasn't the person I was attracted to. Uh,
Right, exactly.
like
Right,
there's a saying that most people plan the wedding, but they don't plan the marriage.
right.
When you are good friends, great relationship, you understand each other's and you love each other's quirks. Yeah, there are some aggravating things. I can be aggravating. We can all have some quirks that are aggravating, but that's who you are. um
Yeah.
I remember one girl said, you know what? After we dated for a while, and I don't know if she was just drunk, blind, or whatever, but she looked at me. She said, I didn't realize that you're shorter. Now she was 2 inches taller than me.
I didn't realize you were
She said,
shorter.
how short you are. And I said, that's funny. I never realized how big your nose was, but that didn't matter. I didn't judge you for that. I mean, I don't know why that
Yeah.
slipped out, but it's like it was true. But I didn't look at that. I looked at her heart, at her personality. I
Yeah.
didn't look at her height because I could have said, I'm not short. You're just too tall, you
Yeah, right,
know?
yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it's funny because my wife is 2 inches taller than me. And
Yeah.
I have no problem when she wears heels. She has no problems. We love each other for who we are,
Yeah.
not for the height or the weight that we are. We should
Right.
stay healthy and we should look good for each other. I mean, you should always want to look good and feel good for your partner, and still be attractive because that's what attracted you in the first place. I'm not saying you need to put on a gown or you need to put on a tux, do your makeup, do your hair every day, but
No.
still be, you know, brush your teeth. Don't stop
Right,
brushing your
right,
teeth just
right.
because you're
Well, you
together
should you
now.
should
You don't
always
have to
want to.
impress each other anymore.
Yeah, well, I mean, you should always want to look good for who you're with. You never want to get to the point where you're like, well, I got you, so I don't care anymore. Like, I'm never going to stop exercising and wanting to look good for, for my wife, and I wouldn't want that for her to do that either. Because it's not just how you look that's the turn off, it's the fact that you've become lazy.
Yeah.
Laziness is a turnoff. Women do not like lazy men, and men do not like lazy women. And so when you say, well, we're married, I got you. I don't have to take care of myself anymore and my health and work out. That's just laziness. Because now what are you doing in place of that? Nothing. So
Yeah.
that's just laziness. So it's just, you should always want
It's
to.
laziness and it's too much. You've gotten too comfortable. You're assuming you've got it locked in.
Right,
Uh,
right,
and you went from being one who took care of themselves and was loving and was comforting and was a good listener to one who stopped taking care of themselves, stopped listening, stopped caring, and you know
right.
um, plopped yourself up on the couch and just watch TV. Oh my God, I'm describing myself. Uh,
Oh, okay. We better end this show.
so, oh no,
You've.
that's
Oh
me.
no.
Well, no, I did that for a while. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie. When I speak, I also speak about myself of the experiences that I have it, but you learn through knowledge. I mean, experience, like you said. But I found myself doing that, and I'm like, wait a minute. Then I wonder why you're not as flirty or as comfortable. I'm not even talking to you. I
Yeah.
have to I have to come in and flirt. Sometimes it's my turn to flirt with you. Sometimes it's my turn to. So now in the morning, not now, but normally when I wake up is splash my face with water, fix my hair, brush my teeth. So even if I come out in pajamas, I can still look somewhat attractive. I mean, I don't have to, like I said, you don't have to put on makeup or whatever, but instead of coming out like, in the morning, how you wake
Yeah.
up, at
Exorcist.
least, at least the breath is smelling a little bit fresh before the coffee. But, it is
Yeah.
important to say, hey, how do we keep this still vibrant and alive, like we did in the beginning? And in some cases, it's hard because one person is willing and the other person is not. And it
Yeah.
takes
That's
two people to work together. That's when it's tough, you know.
yes. Takes two to
So
tango.
yeah, and relationships are no different than work or school or anything else. I mean, there you have to put effort behind it. You have to put
Sure.
some work behind it. Well, I wasn't born to do this and I wasn't born to do that. I wasn't born to be a leader. Everybody was born to be a leader. It's just what kind of leader
Yeah.
do you want to be? You don't have to go
Yeah.
out and say, well, I'm going to be a leader. A leader is influencing others. How can I influence others? By the way I act. If
Mm.
I want to influence my mate, my wife, my kids, my classmates, what's my behavior? Is
Right.
my behavior um, wanting other people to be, just as wonderful and fun and exciting? I mean, so what am I putting out there is what I'm going to get back.
Right. And that's all a
Is
leader needs to
basically
do either. I think a true leader is someone who just leads by example. They're not
right.
trying to get anyone to they're not trying to gain followers or get people to like them or whatever. Now you're not a leader anymore because you're trying. Just be a leader. It's just being a leader is just being yourself, leading by example, and then if people want to follow you, sure. If people don't, okay. I've because it's like people who are always trying to give everybody advice all the time, and it's like, you know, what they'll ask for your advice if they want it. Trust me. If they're not asking for it, then don't even bother because it's because I went through that for a little while. I wanted people to try to help everybody and oh let me give you advice. And it's just nobody took it. Everybody wants to do things their way. Okay, that's fine. So all you do is you just put something on the table, take it or leave it. But I think a real leader just lives their life, leads, you know, does their thing, and then you
Well,
lead
you
by
always you
example.
always
And
want to lead by example. Example's always the best way to lead. Even if you weren't
yes,
given the title, you don't have to be given a title as a leader. Just some people will want to follow you because of the way you project yourself without even opening your mouth. Just your actions
mm,
speak louder than words.
right,
Um,
right,
and then the words that you do spew are the words that encourage others.
yeah,
There's two types of leaders. There's great leaders and there's bad leaders. You know,
mm,
and to be a bad leader, you still can influence people by the words that you put out there. And I've seen many bad leaders who just by their words can destroy a community, can destroy friendship, can destroy one person to the point of suicide.
hmm,
That's a bad leader. Now, a good leader will go out there and set the example and mentor and speak great positive words or encouragement, or help people. And if you do want my advice, here's my advice. But the best choice is, here's my experience, here's my wisdom. But the best choice is, what do you feel is in your heart that you need to do? So we're
Mm.
all born leaders. You're not, you know, uh, you don't need to be named a leader. In some companies, I've seen some people, and especially in my companies, they weren't given the title as leaders, but they were the great examples of what a great leader is, by their actions, by their commitment, by their willingness to help other people, to the point that um, I've asked them, like, my God, you're a great leader. Would you mind taking a position as this leader role? And in some cases, it worked out really great. But then once I give them that title, all of a sudden they go from leader to dictator. And that's when it all changed. When in the first place I gave you that position, or you earned that position somewhere in life because of the way you were, the way you acted, the way you helped other people, your willingness to show up before the time that you were supposed to show up and leave later than the time you were supposed to leave. I mean,
Mhm.
you displayed great leadership, and that's why it was given to you. So you don't have to wait for somebody. I hear people say that all the time, but if you just give me the opportunity, watch how I can lead. Well, if you can't lead now, how can you lead then?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's how great leaders are discovered and made.
Yeah.
Nobody, a lot of leaders out there were never said, you're the leader, go ahead, go. you know Hey,
No, you
Jesus,
gotta you gotta
you're the
prove
leader,
yourself.
go over there and lead people. He just
Yeah.
did. Yeah. So
You gotta
uh
prove yourself first. You gotta show people that. Again, though, a leader is just someone who just keeps trucking forward, regardless of what stands in their way. They just keep going because they're not worried about other people or what they think, or they're not letting anyone else influence them. They're doing their thing. They know that if they keep on the straight path, that they're just it's gonna happen eventually, and that's it. You kind of block everything out, and that's a little bit of tunnel vision, a little bit of a healthy dose of tunnel vision is good. You
well,
always want to use your periphery and be aware, but a
uh,
little focus.
a leader is one who can influence others, and you will do that by just being the person that you were meant to be, not the person
Right.
you think people want you to be.
Right. You're
um
not trying to influence others. It just happens. It's the
right.
leaders that are trying to influence people. That to me comes off as like a salesman, and I don't think you're a true leader. I think an actual genuine leader is someone who just leads, and as a byproduct, people will follow. It's
Yeah.
like, it's I don't know. I think the lead
and
by
and
example.
leaders are not perfect. Leaders are not
No, no,
perfect.
no.
They're
Of
going to
course
make
not. No, no, no.
mistakes.
Yeah,
But
sure.
a true leader is one who will stand up and say, hey, by the way, I made a mistake. I'm sorry, I
Yes.
apologize, what I tried
Yes.
didn't work, and I'm going to approach it differently, and is humble enough to admit that. Where there are
Right.
leaders who, like, I didn't make the mistake, it was all of you who made that
Right.
mistake and made me look bad. No, we
Right.
followed your lead. And if you take responsibility and some humility and say, it was me and I apologize, people respect that even more. Not just
Yes.
in leaders, but in people in general. I
Because they're
can't
not
tell you how
afraid.
many
Right.
times. Yeah, many times I've said, you know what, guys? And they were like, I'm sorry, I didn't. No, it wasn't your fault. It was
Right.
mine. I
Yeah.
told you to do it this way. I trained you to do it this way. And guess what? I trained you wrong.
Right.
So even though maybe I've maybe trained wrong, I'm not going to blame it on the person who trained me. I'm going to find the right way to do it so that I can come back and train you the proper way together.
Right.
That's, um, do I consider myself a leader? I consider everybody to be a great leader. It's just, how are you willing to lead, is
Mm.
the question.
You think everybody's born a leader?
We're all born leaders. It's how we're influenced in our thinking as we grow
Well,
up.
oh,
Listen,
so
let
whether or
me tell
not
you
people
something.
choose to be a leader or not, because there's a lot of followers out there. Leaders are very rare.
Well,
Like true
great
leaders are very.
leaders are also great followers. I mean, we have to learn somewhere, but we can
No, no,
always
I
jump
mean,
at the front of the line.
yeah, yeah, you know what I mean. Like not, like you have people that are truly leaders to their core, and then you have people that are basically just sheep, and
Right.
it's they you know they blame a lot, they victim mentality, and they're also cowardly, and they'll never admit they're wrong, they'll never admit to a mistake, they're so very insecure, no confidence. And then you have the true leaders that are very confident, they're not afraid to admit when they're wrong. That's why they're successful, because they admit, well, I didn't do that right, let me learn how to do it right, and then they do it
Well,
right, and then they're successful.
think about when someone is when you were born. Anybody, a baby is born.
I
They come
remembered
out
well.
with in they come out with innocence, and
Yeah.
as they're starting to learn, rather than encouraging them, a lot of times unknowingly we're discouraging them
Mm.
from leading, like, oh no, don't say that, because kids speak the truth. Would you
Yeah,
agree?
they do.
you know
Yes, they
hey,
do.
excuse me, you got a burger hanging out your nose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
And
yeah,
adults
yeah,
would be afraid to tell somebody you got a
yeah,
booger hanging out your nose,
yeah, yeah,
but we
yeah,
tell them,
yeah.
oh no, don't
You're
ever
ugly.
do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that part, you never want to say you're ugly. We want to teach them, though, hey, you don't say you're ugly, because that is not nice, and everybody has a unique look. But you got a booger in your nose
yeah, yeah,
is
yeah, yeah.
is 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 important information, because nobody wants to be
Right,
walking around with. But then we tell
right,
them, no, don't do this, don't do that, and no, don't take on this role, no, don't do this in the school, don't run for school president, what if you fail, no, don't go out for sports because you're not good enough, or you're not smart enough in
yeah,
school, and they don't look at, maybe the kid may be smart in other ways, but all of a sudden, as parents or mentors, we are the ones that discourage the great leader within them, because we don't
yeah,
teach them the right way to approach things. Rather,
right,
just get a job, be secure, get insurance. You don't want to work there. We control their thinking, rather than letting them be themselves and teach them along the way. No, we can't
yeah,
just let them run wild. Kids will want to experience a lot of things, but we have to let them know that, listen, if you're going to climb this shelf, there could be consequences here.
right,
If
right,
you're going to climb this tree, there could be consequences here. Let me
yeah,
show you how to do this so that you can do it in a safe way. But I believe you can do it, because kids do things because they want to try. They to, to to know that they can. But if the bat,
right,
you're told right away off the bat that you can't, as a kid, your whole life been told you can't. So what are you going to believe?
right,
You can't. You will never be a CEO. You will never be the president. You will never own a big company. You will
mm,
never be as good looking as so and so. You will never be as successful as so and so. You will never drive the kind of car you really want. How many times do you hear people saying that to people that they love? Oh,
mm.
you'll never do that. You can't. You weren't born for that.
No,
You
that's
know,
the
you
extreme. There needs to be there needs to be something in the middle where you are honest with them, because you do have to be, as a parent, you have to be very
yes.
honest with your kid. Too many, see, the extremes are you tell your kid, you'll never do this. And then the other extreme is just pandering to the kid all the time and telling them they're great at everything. You got to be in the middle where you're
No, not
honest with
everybody
them.
gets a trophy. Yes, be honest.
Right.
Not everybody gets a
Right.
trophy.
Be
And listen,
honest.
here's the thing. It didn't work out for you. What could you do differently? Where's that conversation of, what do you think went wrong? Rather than, oh, see, told you, don't do it again. Not that. What do
Mm,
you think happened? What do you think went wrong? What could you have done differently? Those are the
Right.
conversations. But see, we can't have that conversation with our kids because we're too busy having conversations with our phone. If our
Right.
child was a phone, we would have more interaction with them,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
You
stop
you
giving
notice
kids phones.
people well, you know what? You see people encouraging other people's kids, but they don't encourage their own.
Right.
They'll tell other kids that they can be whatever they want. They're smart. They can achieve anything they want, but they tell their kids, listen, I just said that to be nice, but they'll never make it, neither will you.
Right. Both of those are bad. There has to be something where it's like, okay, hey, I know you really want to play the guitar, but you've been taking lessons for 2 years and you still suck. So let's try something else. Let's try something else. Maybe let's try, or I know you really like soccer, but you're much better at this sport. Parents need to do better at recognizing when their kids have a talent. It might not be the talent you want them to have, but that's their talent. And harness it, embrace it, be honest with them. If they did something, like my parents did that when I was playing the drums, if I didn't get something right or I was off beat or I whatever, they told me. They didn't scold me for it or anything, and they told me they would also tell me what I did right, but they would also tell me what I did wrong, and they weren't afraid to say it again and again. Say, nope, see, you didn't see, did you hear that? You didn't do it quite right. Let's do it again. And we would do it again.
Yeah,
They weren't
but
like
see,
drill sergeants,
but
but
here, but
they were
here's what they
honest.
did. They said, "Listen, do that again. Do you hear that you're off a little bit?
Right.
What
Right.
can you do to change that up? What or
Right.
here, try this, with your drums."
Right.
Where a lot of parents are
Right.
just, "You suck, don't do it,"
Right. Right.
or
Yeah. Or
"Hey,
that
you're
didn't sound
terrible
right,
at
and then they walk
guitar."
away.
Right. Well, yes, you are terrible at guitar. And do you know why maybe you're not really catching on? There could be some dexterity challenges, and maybe this is not
Yeah.
the right instrument for you. Or is it the fact that you haven't been studying or you haven't been putting the effort behind it and you think you're just going to pick it up and play it? It takes work,
Right.
it takes time, it takes
Hmm.
effort. And if you're willing to put in this much commitment per day, you'll start and go slowly at your own pace. Maybe you'll start to get a little bit better. But if you're going to just let it sit there and pick it up once a week and think you practice right before your guitar lesson, well, you're never going to be good at it. And just like anything
Right.
in life, if you don't practice at it, and that's how we should speak to our kids the truth. If you don't practice at it, if you don't work at it, obviously you can't get better at it. If you don't
Right.
learn your spelling words and practice them, how are you going to get better at spelling? Now, somebody
Right.
just would have uttered those words to me when I was younger.
Yeah.
Listen, you
Right.
want to
Yeah.
learn how to
Really.
spell
Yeah.
better and you want your phonics to be better. Here's what we can do to help you. Not just
Yeah.
push me aside and say you'll never be a great speller, you'll never be great with phonics. You're just not a good student. Okay, well, if that's what you expect of me, then I will not be because that's your expectations of me.
Right. Mm.
Same thing, you just when you reprimand your child too, you never make your bed, you're lousy, you're sloppy, you throw your clothes all over the place, but yet you pick up their clothes, you do their laundry, you put it away, and you make their bed every day. Well, of course,
Right.
nobody's going to put effort behind that because it's going to be
Sure.
done for me. That's the trophy I
Yeah.
got for free.
Right. Yeah.
Because
Right.
I'm a winner, right?
Right. Right.
No,
Yeah.
listen, you're not going to get X, Y, and Z until you do X, Y, and Z. You're not going to
Right.
learn discipline unless you learn how to get up, make your bed, put your clothes in the right bins. Matter of fact, let me show you how to do your laundry rather than do
Right.
it for you.
Exactly.
Because
Right. Teach.
what our
Teach.
job is to set them up for a good quality of life and a great
Right.
mindset, not do it for them because one day we're not going to be here to do it. We're influenced a lot by the way we're raised, by the way we are taught, by the way we are mentored. And parents, you hold a big responsibility in that by, or grandparents, whoever you are, by the examples that you set, by the service that you service others, by making a difference in people's lives, by just simply being honest, but being giving teachable moments, not just being honest, you suck, but listen, if you really like this is how we can get better. What are you willing to do? Let them give you a commitment as well. Um, because leadership, once again, isn't something that you need a title for or something that you want to strive for. uh, just being a leader is something that naturally will come from the way that you were mentored and the way that you were taught and the behaviors that you were given. Most people send their kids to cotillion to learn how to use a fork and a knife and manners, or how to dance, or how to ask someone to dance, or, there are many great tools out there to help inspire your children rather than turn them off. Or if they're not doing well in school, don't assume that they're dumb. Don't assume, because they've got brilliance in many other areas. Maybe it's not reading, but if they need help in reading, don't discourage them by telling them they're dumb and they don't know how to read. Get them some help. Get them some tutoring. Find out. Get them tested. Maybe they do have a learning disability. I say this with passion because if somebody would have just taken that time to give me when I was younger, but they didn't know about that, to understand that this is why this kid is not learning. This is why he's not comprehending. He's being told that he's stupid, not because they meant to, but that's how they tried to inspire us when we were little, by thinking if they call us dumb and we couldn't achieve and we couldn't be good at something, to just quit it, or we would get spanked rather than taught.
Mm.
Does that make sense? I mean, yeah, spanking was great. I got it. It was over with in a few minutes and I moved on, but I was never taught how to correct that problem. Even in school, teachers spanked me.
Yeah.
Teachers reprimanded me, but they never gave me the tools. And not all teachers. There were some great teachers, I will admit. But the majority of them were just like, you'll never make it. I remember my guidance counselor telling me, just drop out of the college prep program because you'll never make it to college. Just take your
Jeez.
basic classes and do what it takes to get out of high school because you're just not smart enough. This is a guidance counselor who should have sat down with me
Yeah.
and saying, hey, what do we need to do? Maybe we need to put you in some reading programs, or maybe we need to discover where the help needs to come. Not everybody's a great baseball player. Not everybody's a great cheerleader. Not everybody's made to do certain things, but you're made for something amazing. It may not be what you hoped for, which once again would be that star athlete or that star cheerleader or that, star student, but you were made, all of us were made for something great. We just have to tap into that, and we have to be encouraged to know that we hold something. And when we find that greatness, we build upon it. If I'm good with my hands, maybe I'm a good carpenter, or maybe I'm a good artist, or whatever it may be. Work with that talent and build upon it. Don't try to take the weakness and make it the strengths. Take the strengths and build upon that, and slowly work on some of the weaknesses so that we can get them to become strengths.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I'm so passionate about the stuff that I work on and I teach into the schools, and when I work with kids, is because I come from that point of where people didn't teach you or didn't allow you to make mistakes. They just stopped you and discouraged you from doing it again. But how can we do it differently and make it work? Or maybe, you know what, we gave it all we got. Let's try something else. I notice you're brilliant at doing this. What do you think about trying this a little bit more? Or how about, what do you love to do? What
Mm-hmm.
really makes your heart sing? And build upon what makes their heart sing, and see how you can get them good at that. and let them discover on their own discoveries that whether sometimes they may not be right for that and they need to move on to something else that makes their heart sing.
Hmm.
It's as simple as that,
Well said.
you know. So everybody's got possibilities. Everybody's got opportunity. But doesn't come easy. And sometimes we just have to work harder at it. That's all. And some of us, including me, have to work harder at what I do. Like today, you know, last several months we were supposed to have all these great people be on our podcast, but there's so many things that have gone on. Um, I'm not even great at podcasting, but I'm learning. But we were supposed to have all these guest speakers, and a lot of things have come up, such as the wildfires, hurricanes, regulatory changes, businesses, life in general, sickness. Uh, but it doesn't mean that we're going to stop doing what we're doing. We're going to still keep approaching other people and have their expertise on and do great things and have fun with this podcast and see what it brings. Even if we have to go back and study some of the things that I've been working on for years, we'd love to do that too. We'd love to hear your suggestions on what you would love to hear, what you would love for us to talk about. And one day, Glenn, we need to take advantage to go out into the farm and um, interview the donkeys and the sheep
Yeah, really. Yeah,
and the
yeah,
chickens
yeah,
and see what they have to say. Nah, but
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Well, you know what we'll do is
which
we'll pretend the animals are politicians.
no, I can't get
So
an elephant. I only have a
yeah,
donkey.
yeah, that's okay. We can use something else, but each chicken is like a different politician, and then
Yeah,
we'll do
exactly.
yeah, yeah,
Well, then,
yeah.
we can't do chickens. I'd have to get turkeys if we're going to make believe they're politicians.
Yeah,
Just
yeah, yeah,
kidding.
yeah. Yeah, no, no, no. Get a microphone and go,
Yeah,
"Hey, so what could you have done better for the wildfires?" And then just have the shot of the chicken.
yeah, exactly, exactly. Well, let's pray for those people in the wildfires and hope that they get some rains and those Santa Ana winds just die down. Um,
Yeah.
and just wish everybody a great year, a great 2025, and stop with the resolutions. Just do it. Stop waiting once a year to make a resolution.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait a whole year before I go back to the gym. So
Yeah,
no,
really.
you can do that at any time. You don't have to wait for New Year's to make a resolution. And then hurt yourself in the meantime before your resolution gets there. I don't believe in that either. New year is a new start, a new beginning to a new year. And if I had a bad year, well, I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to kind of evaluate that year and see how I can change and make a better year. Not that I'm going to wait for that year to make a better year. I'm going to keep
Right.
on trying, and I'm going to try for 2025. Not try, I'm going to do the best that I can to make it the best year ever. And then I'm going to look at 2026 and look back at 2025 and see everything that worked and how it worked and build upon that. And what didn't work, what do I need to change? So that's the same thing I'm going to do for 2024. Take a look back at that year. I already can tell you a few things that I done. I had a pity party. Um, I went into a depression. I almost gave up a few times. And then I reflected back at the things that I did do that did work, that inspired me to say, I got to change that behavior to back to the behavior of where I saw hope, I saw success, and I worked hard at it. And I got to get back to my purpose. I let go of my purpose. And when I let go of my purpose, I fell into a depression. But
Mm.
sometimes it's hard knowing what that purpose is. But it's easier to sit and think about what purpose is that you do have than give up on that purpose at all, you know?
Mm.
So, my purpose is to write some more books this year,
Yeah,
as
what do you
well
got in
as,
mind?
take care of, well, I'm going to take care of the businesses first, help the kids like I normally do and the staff and get back to more trainings, Um, I got done last year with a few books that I got some awards for, and that I accomplished. That I, who knew they were going to win anything, but I just did it to do it. And I just released. Well, these are the three books. Shameless plug again, that I did get the awards for. This one is Unlocking the Leader Within. It's for young adults, but it's also for older adults. But it's about how we are all born leaders and how we can be great leaders. And it's got great exercises in it to follow. The other one is Hiding Behind the Mask, How I Lived My Life in Multiple Masks until I learned to take the mask off and be who I am. And I get very vulnerable in this one. So this might be quite the eye opening, but living behind those masks gave me a lot of challenges with mental illness. Depression is what I'm talking about. When I finally took off the mask, it eased up a lot of that and got some help. That was most important. That's in this book as well. So I get very vulnerable in that. And then wearing the armor, more biblical, in the wearing the armor that God provides for us to protect our minds, bodies, souls, and strength, and words that we speak. I just released another book called The Greatest Leader of All Times, and I had to look at all the great leaders that were out there and their sustainability as a leader. Are they still recognized? That they do a small thing, but the one I found to be the greatest leader of them all was Jesus. Whether you believe him as a Messiah, as the Savior, as the Son of God, or you don't believe him at all, you have to understand that this leader 2,000 years later still leads by the words that he has spoken, and the teachings that he's given us is still taught to this day. And the greatest leader who never sold a book, uh, gave swag bags, charged for his teachings, went out there and made a difference thousands of years ago. And today, his words were unchanged, never re-edited, all the same. The beliefs are all the same, and he still leads people to a better life. Now that's a great leader. And most people who have motivational seminars and so on and so forth, they're constantly changing to these brilliant new ideas, where Jesus has held his ideas and sustained them from his Father to this day, and never changed a word. And it's still the best selling book out of all books. So I write about that as well. I got a kid's book that came out. It's called Little Hearts, Big Faith. It's biblical children's rhymes. That just got released on Amazon as well. And I got this year I'm working on public speaking. Communication is key. Um, Personal finances for young adults. So um, and I work on those things not just for other people, but for myself as well. And when I work on it for myself, I share it with them as well. So those are the things I'm working on, and um, I'm looking to have just a great, fun filled year with my daughter as well, and my wife. She's gotten to the point where she started walking. So it looks like I'll be getting some more exercise, chasing her around. So she's walking and
Oh,
running. So
you gotta send us a video.
oh my goodness, she's just too funny. And hopefully giving her the support and knowledge, and I know I will give her all the love she needs. So that's my year. What about you, Glenn?
I'm hoping for some better TV too, because TV's been bad.
I I'll have to confess to you, I haven't found any good TV. I don't like the news anymore because it's depressing, but I do keep up to keep a little bit, just to keep knowledgeable of what's happening.
Good.
You don't want to know what's not going on in the world. You do need a little bit of news to understand it, but you don't have to
Mhm.
be glued to it all day long. But I've been kind of going back to shows that made me laugh, like Taxi. I've been watching some
Yeah,
of those series.
yeah.
Big Bang Theory. I went on a big binge of that. Little
Oh
House on
yeah.
the Prairie, because I live on a
Oh, that's
farm now.
funny.
So
Because you
but it
live
was
on the
always,
house on the prairie now. Yeah.
yeah, it was always a good time.
You
What
got to
other
grow some
show?
pigtails now.
Oh my god, I watched the Brady Bunch.
There's a
Just
really good show for you.
yeah, just
That's funny.
there's some other shows. I did a little binge watching of The Love Boat.
Boots.
And
Yeah.
I enjoy them more now because you look back at all the great talent that they had on that show that I didn't realize when I was younger watching it that who those stars were.
Hmm.
So if you take a look back on it, they used to have a lot of great talent. And recently, Touched by an Angel. I remember watching that when I was younger. It was
Mm.
just going back to feel good, and you can get those on Prime or Netflix or whatever like
Yeah.
that. But I made it a point to go back and, like you said, you're going to watch some movies and stuff. But I haven't seen any really good movies lately, but good shows that made me laugh. Happy Days. Oh, I watched some Happy Days
Oh, I
just
love
for
Happy
some,
Days. Yeah.
yeah, for some great memories. When you look at the Fonz
That's
now,
all we watch now is the old stuff.
it's like he was a
I know
short
it's funny.
guy,
Yeah, it's
but so
funny to see
cool,
Henry Winkler and he's.
Yeah, if you really
I know. Yeah,
look,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because when you were younger, he was bigger than life. But now that you're older, you're like, they picked the shortest guy to be the coolest guy, you know,
Yeah,
and like,
yeah,
hey, and you're like,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's funny just to look back at those things and great memories to look back on. So,
Yeah, that's all we ever watch now is the old stuff because there's just nothing. There's just nothing. That's what I mean. Is I'm hoping this year there's some good TV. Although we did. Have you seen Tulsa King?
oh yeah, I did.
Oh,
Yeah.
we just watched that. The both seasons. We binged it
Yeah,
and
that's with
just I mean
Sylvester
we were.
Stallone, right?
Oh yeah, we were hooked. Both of us. We couldn't get enough of it. We were so disappointed when season three is not going to come out for like another year.
Yeah,
So,
that's what
but
got me.
that was a
That's what
great
gets.
show.
Yeah, it's the same thing with The Chosen and everything. You get into these shows, you start loving them, Tulsiki and all these things, and then all of a sudden they take a break
Yeah,
for a year or two,
yeah, I
um,
know.
and then it's hard to jump back into them. But I do like watching the rerun runs when I get bored. What are ones? Golden Girls.
Golden Girl.
Believe it or not,
Wow, yeah.
I stumbled onto the Cosbys, and it just still makes me crack up to this day.
Sure. Oh yeah.
And there was a lot of great teaching in that one as well.
Yep.
Put aside along what Bill did, but still, those shows they were great. There were some great shows, and there
Yeah.
are hopefully working on some more great shows. But for a while, the movies, I think, came to a kind of like a weird vibe because of all
They were
the
bad. Yeah. They were
craziness.
bad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they were trying to reinvent everything, um, but it wasn't
Yeah.
reinvented in the proper way. Uh,
Right.
you know, so for some, small majority of people loved it, but a lot of people who rewatched them and knew them from the days were like, they destroyed the franchise,
Yeah.
of that
And they
movie.
lost money. They all lost money. I mean,
I
look at
lost
all
some
these
big
companies that
money.
are losing money. Yeah, Disney, they're all losing money because it's like they went that way.
They went that way. And when we were
They went that
younger, it
away.
was a big thrill on a Sunday to sit with the whole family. Some of you might not know who I'm talking about, but we used to watch the Lawrence Welk show on a Sunday. It was
Yeah.
a variety show,
Thank you.
is what it
Thank you.
was. But it
Yeah.
wasn't, it was about singing, it was about dancing, it was about simple jokes, fun.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm a little fogey, but it was it it wasn't controversial, it wasn't mean, it was pure entertainment. And then an entertainer that time in those times had to learn how to sing, dance, act. They had to carry a variety of talent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Today, you don't have to have talent. Everything is AI, isn't it?
Yeah,
I wouldn't be
really.
surprised
Yeah,
if those
even
actors
if
even
it's
existed.
no, even if it's not AI, these actors that they pick are just horrible. I mean, I just don't understand. I mean, we've been on a Gene Kelly kick. We've been
Oh,
watching all Gene Kelly movies. And it's like, oh my God, the talent is just it doesn't even come close to the stuff you see today. And everything today is so dark and moody, and
Mm.
actors just make the same face throughout the whole thing. They don't emote. There's no humor. That's what I loved about Tulsa King, is it got dark at times, but it was also upbeat and it was funny, and they
Yeah.
acted like real human beings, and they had relationships, and they fed off each other, and it just felt like normal people talking to each other. And these other shows are just like, who wrote these shows? I mean, it's just all these people that, I don't know. It's like they've never actually, experienced anything. They're just writing based on what they've seen on social media, or what they see on their phone. They're not actually writing based on real experience or struggles that they've had.
Yeah, or fun, or just
Fun, right?
quirky.
Yeah.
Yeah, quirky.
Yeah.
And you're funny that you said you're on a Gene Kelly kick, because we been watching some old black and whites as well, and we're just, that now have turned into color. And just the
Yep.
talent and the dancing and the singing and the
Oh yeah.
romancing is
Yeah.
is now all considered a violation of sexual harassment. But back then it was
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
romancing. It was
Yeah.
how to court a person, and show your true love, and have etiquette. um
Yeah.
it just all of a sudden you're watching Dean Martin serenade somebody from their balcony. You do that today, you get arrested. It's
Right,
like
right.
for
Yeah. Yeah.
disrupting the
Yeah.
peace or whatever it was.
Yeah,
But
exactly. I
there was
know.
some great comedy teams: Abbott and Costello, Jerry Lewis, Dean Martin, Danny Kaye.
Yeah.
I mean, there was
Yeah.
so a lot of people don't know these names, but there are some younger groups that are going back to the old black and whites, and making those movie nights as fun things to do. So if you ever get
Yeah.
bored, go think of things that used to make you happy that you watched. And I bet you can find it on any of those Prime, Netflix, or any of those apps that are out there today. They're
Oh
floating
yeah, they're
out there.
everywhere. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah. Before
Yeah.
you
I think
couldn't
more
find them.
young
I love the Dean Martin
Mm.
roasts. They were funny.
Oh, those are the best. Yeah, those are the best. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think more young people need to watch older movies, cuz I think they need it. They need to see what actual real talent and what a good movie looks like. A good classic, well done, well written, well acted movie looks like, because they just today, they're going based off what they see today. Like and I think that's another responsibility of parents, is to make sure you introduce your kids first to classic film and classic music, because
Mm.
now what you're doing is you're giving them that foundation, so that when you let them choose their own music and what movies to watch, they're going to choose the good stuff based on what you have already introduced them to. Like, when growing up, some of the first music I ever heard was like Billy Joel, Phil Collins, like really good music, the old school guys like Marvin Gaye, Barry White, and everything. Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like, this is the
Lou
music my
Reed,
parents listened to.
Reed. Yeah.
Yeah, all those. Yeah, and I listened to that stuff, and so every time, so growing up, from that moment on, I was able to decipher what was good and what wasn't good. Same thing with movies. The first movie I ever saw was Wizard of Oz, one of the greatest movies ever made. So I that's how I know, okay, this is a good movie, this is a bad movie, because I was introduced to the greats at a very young age. And I think today parents just, they give their kid a phone, and then the first movies these kids watch, or the first music they listen to, is crap, because it's whatever everyone else is listening to. So now they're going to compare everything else. So you could show them like The Godfather, and they'd be like, "Oh, Godfather's boring. Oh, Godfather sucks because it's not what they grew up watching, which was a bunch of crap." So they're gonna
Yeah.
think that it's like someone who's grown up eating fast food, and then you try to introduce them to, when they're a teenager, you try to introduce them to like good home cooked meals, ingredients that were grown in a garden. They're not gonna like it, because it
They're not
doesn't
going to
taste like
appreciate
fast
it as
food.
much. Yeah.
Right,
No.
because it doesn't taste like fast food. So it's
Can you
like,
even afford fast food anymore? Or
really, I know. Mine is at this point, cook at home. My God, they always say fast food was the cheap option. No, it's not. Not
I
anymore,
ordered
is
a
it?
100 barbecue chicken wings for a little get together. Now, what did it used to cost for 100 wings?
I don't know, probably.
30, $40, whatever. It wasn't
Yeah,
that
yeah.
expensive. This was
Mm.
$140 from Hungary. Well, I won't
Jeez.
say it from where, but yeah, everything is and Stefano stopped at Kentucky Fried Chicken and they ordered a little bucket with a couple of things, and it was he was on the road with Melissa and they came over and they were like it was $50 from the
Oh my
drive-through
God.
window.
Go to
I
a
was like,
restaurant
I was
at
like,
that
what?
point.
You know what you could have bought for $50? Some nice steaks or,
Yeah.
some good chicken. But anyway, that's a whole nother subject we could talk about. I think we're
Yeah,
just probably
really.
gonna be running out of time here, but
Yeah.
stay with us. We thank you for joining us on the Giulio Show. And Glenn, thanks for being with us every time we're on. You control the whole thing and edit the whole
Yeah.
thing for me, which is good. Um, but
My
hopefully
pleasure.
we'll have more lineup and if of people to speak to, and if they're still unavailable because of what's going on still in their world, because a lot of people are still trying to work on their businesses and their and what's going on in California and other places of the world. We can cover some great things about just self-awareness and motivation or movies like we were talking about. But
Oh, I could go for hours with movies. Yeah.
yeah, I know you can. You're a
Yeah.
movie buff.
Yeah.
But by the way, I don't know if you realize one of the books you did all the illustration for is in Spanish now, illuminating the path. And it was so funny because I
Oh,
opened it up and it
cool.
says illustration in Spanish, which I don't speak, and it
Oh,
said
that's
Glenn
funny.
Brown. Yeah.
That's oh,
So
the is it the unwrapping your gift? Unwrapping your
unwrapping your gift,
gifts.
not illuminating it. Yes, but both
Yeah,
of them
yeah.
are in Spanish now. But that was
Oh.
funny to see. I said, I wonder if you got that. But anyway, thank you for
Now we got
being with
yeah.
us on the Giulio Show, and hopefully we'll have some more exciting things for you, and maybe we'll take next time, Glenn. Let's take a little ride around the farm and give them a little clip too of that llama chase I had a while back.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
trying to
Yeah.
get my llamas
Yeah.
back. But anyway, have a great week, and we'll see you soon. God bless.
Sí, señor.